having a baby using a donor egg? In this video, I'm going to share my donor egg journey that led to this beautiful baby being born. And I'm going to share it with you in a lot of detail so that you can really know what to expect if you embark on this path. It's a pretty amazing story, so get ready for your heart to burst.
This is your story that you got made.
Hi everybody, I'm TJ and this is Baby Star, and if you're new to our channel, welcome. We make videos for all of you out there who have a baby dream. Whether you're thinking of having a baby as a single mother by choice, or as an older mother, or using an egg donor or a sperm donor, or if you've already got a baby using any one of those paths. So in an earlier video I made in 4 parts, I already shared my first IVF attempt that I did with my own eggs, the one that didn't work. So if you've missed that video, you can see it here. And in part 4 of that video, I shared how I worked through my grief that my attempt with my own eggs didn't work, how I really let go of using my own genetics and having my own biological child, and how I came to peace with having a baby using a donor egg. So if you're still struggling with making that decision, I really encourage you to watch that 4th part of that video. I'll put the link to that part down in the description below. So my first attempt at IVF with my own eggs failed in April 2020. So that was when I really started researching how I could get hold of a donor egg so I could try again with a donor egg. It's actually really difficult here in Australia because the regulations are very strict around donating eggs. You can't do it for money. So that really restricts the number of women who are going to do it because it's a very big thing to donate an egg and not get paid. You've got to go through IVF injections, you've got to have egg retrieval surgery. It's not a small thing. So there's a very small pool of donors here. It is actually a little bit easier to get a donor embryo than a donor egg because a lot of people have leftover embryos from their IVF cycles and they're willing to donate them to their clinics. But I really wanted to be able to choose my own egg donor and choose my own sperm donor and put them together to create a baby that felt right for me rather than using a leftover embryo. But obviously that's a really valid choice if that feels right for you. I did actually look into it at the time in April 2021, and at that point there was a very long waiting list, even for leftover embryos at clinics. So I probably would have had to wait a couple of years for that anyway. So I figured I'd keep trying to find a donor egg. So most women in Australia... She's just going to be playing in this video. She's at the age where I can't hold her anymore. She just wants to crawl around. So most women in Australia who use donor eggs, they go overseas to do it. So a lot of women who I've encountered through various Facebook groups here in Australia for women going down this path, they've gone to Greece or they've gone to South Africa or they've gone to Spain, places like that where it's easier to get hold of donor eggs and you can work with an overseas clinic. So I asked around in all the different single mother by choice Facebook groups I'm in for women based in Australia, and I asked which clinics they'd gone to overseas, and I started compiling a list of those. And actually, if you're watching this and you've already done this, you've gone overseas to use an egg donor, put down in the comments below which clinic you went to and what your experience was like, because I'm hoping that this will end up becoming a repository of information, this video, for women who are interested in egg donation and any who happen to be in Australia, or even if you're in other countries. Just list what your experience was like with different clinics so that women who are watching this video can scroll through the comments and read that information. That would be really helpful. Are you standing over me holding mummy's hair? What? Oh my god! Did you just stand up by yourself? So while I was doing that research about egg donor clinics, I stumbled upon a quite unknown clinic I'd never heard of before from anybody else in Russia, of all places, called the Olga Fertility Clinic. And when I discovered this clinic's website, I cried. I cried more than I almost cried in anything else in that whole period of time, because I found their website so incredibly moving and touching. So this clinic in Russia is totally dedicated to IVF for women. It's run by women. There's only women working in the clinic. Everyone who works in this clinic has had some experience with IVF, whether they've donated eggs themselves or they've done IVF themselves or someone in their family's done it. So they're incredibly caring and loving, and I was absolutely shocked because most of the articles on this website were about your emotions, how to grieve your own genetics, how to move on from your own biological child, how to come to terms with using donor eggs, lots of information about their egg donors. I never saw anything like this on any other clinic's website anywhere in the world. And for me, as someone who likes to feel my feelings and work through my feelings, I was so grateful for that. And I actually started watching all their webinars and just reading all the articles and blog posts on their website. And I decided I'm going to go to this clinic in Russia because every other clinic I'd kind of encountered it was run by men. I don't have anything against men, but it was run by men, not by people who'd actually experienced IVF. And it just seemed to be like a business that was trying to just earn money through IVF, through fertility, whereas the clinic in Russia seemed to actually care about their patients. They really seemed to. And I was like, right, that's the clinic I'm going to. I don't care if it's on the other side of the world. It's the middle of winter there when it's the middle of summer here. I don't care. That's where I'm going. That's the place that resonates with me. And I felt so moved. And the whole idea of going to St. Petersburg, it just felt so romantic. I'm a real romantic. If I couldn't have my baby with like a life partner who I was madly in love with, I was going to have my romantic egg donor story of going to St. Petersburg. Oh, isn't mummy funny? And actually, if you're in Europe and you're watching this video and you need a donor egg, really look up that clinic because it's very close for you, especially if you're in Scandinavia. Lots of Scandinavians go there. I'll put a link to the clinic down in the description box. So I started emailing this clinic in Russia, but the thing is, this was now May 2020 and COVID was really, really settling in now around the world. The Australian government had banned all international flights in March. We were now in May, it had been going on for a couple of months. We were starting to realize, actually, this might be a long-term problem. This might last for a while. It was dawning on me, I might not get to fly this year. It was really looking like I might not get to fly this year. And as it turned out, we didn't get to fly that year. So I was starting to realize, I don't think I'm going to be able to go to Russia or Spain or Greece or South Africa or anywhere else to use a donor egg because I'm not going to be able to leave the country. So that was really, really stressful. So that was really upsetting, and I just realized I'm not in control of this journey. I've exhausted all my options. I can't do this now. I just have to let it go and I have to wait. It just felt impossible. I just decided I have to let this dream go for now and trust that something will shift at some point somehow. If any of you have hit a roadblock like this in your IVF journey, please share it with us in the comments below, especially if it turned around later, just to inspire everyone who's watching this. So at this point, we were in early May 2020. I made this decision. I'm just going to wait till the end of the year. I'm just going to put this out of my head until December. I'm not going to think about it. So then the end of May came. I turned 47. I didn't think about it. June came, July came, August came. I didn't think about it. If anybody asked me anything about having a baby, are you still wanting to do IVF? Are you still wanting to try with a donor egg? I actually said to them, I don't know. I really genuinely did not know the answer to that because I blocked it off. I shut it down. I just closed myself off to it completely so that I wouldn't be tortured by it. So I actually couldn't feel anymore if I wanted a baby or not. I remember having long heart-to-hearts with friends at that time and saying to people, I don't know if I still want a baby. I just don't know. September came, October came, November came. We still couldn't fly anywhere. So then December came and I woke up one day and I realized it's the 1st of December. Oh my God, it's the end of the year. I said I'd think about this at the end of the year. I have to think about this now. And I started to check in like, do I want a baby? But we still couldn't fly. So I just didn't know what to do. And there was one night, I think it was about the 2nd of December, where I just woke up in the middle of the night with this thought, and it was one of those life-changing thoughts that you get sometimes. And the thought was this, makes me cry when I think about it. Every month that I wait to try to have this child is one less month I'm going to get to spend with my child at the end of my life. Because at that point I was 47. So even if I lived till I was 100, I wasn't going to get more than 53 years with this child. And I realized every month that I delay this is 1 month less that I'm going to get to spend with this beautiful child at the end of my life. And that hit me really hard. That hit me really hard. Those of you who are watching this, who are wanting to have a baby, who are over 40, just think about that for a minute. How does that hit you? That hit me really hard. Let me know in the comments if you're feeling that as well. Anyway, so that night, after I had that thunderstruck moment, I decided I'm starting this IVF for donor eggs tomorrow. I don't care if I can't fly. I don't care if it's COVID. I don't care if it's cost me thousands of dollars to get an air flight and I have to go into quarantine for weeks and I'm on the other side of the world for months. I don't care. I've got to do this now. I'm out of time. I just thought to myself, I'm going to go to Russia now, even though it's the middle of winter in Russia now. Even though I might have to stay there for months and months doing round after round after round of attempts for donor eggs. Even if I'm away from all my friends and family, it's the middle of a COVID pandemic. I don't care. I have to do this. So I started contact again with the Russian clinic. This is in early December. I started trying to organize a new passport because my passport had just expired. I just was talking to everyone about how am I going to find a flight, because you couldn't get flights. There were no flights. It was still not, we still weren't technically allowed to leave the country. You had to have a very strong reason. You had to pay a lot of money and you had to spend a lot of time and money in quarantine. So I was just starting to look into how could I find a loophole or an exemption to get me, allow me to go to Europe. It was crazy stuff. It just was such an extreme thing to do, but I felt like I had no choice. You're so funny right now. You're so funny right now. So here's the next turning point moment in the story. On the 3rd of December, and I know the date because I've actually gone back and found this Facebook post. On the 3rd of December, I wrote a post in an Australian Single Mothers by Choice Facebook group telling them of my plans to go to Russia, asking people for advice. How long do I need to stay overseas to do a donor egg cycle? Should I stay for multiple months? Just asking people's advice. Is this a crazy thing to do? And somebody wrote a comment under that post, and this comment changed my whole life and allowed her to be born. I'm so grateful for the woman who wrote this comment. The comment said something like, I'm pretty sure that they've changed the rules and you can now import eggs into Australia. And I was like, what? I was like, what? What? You can import eggs into Australia? Oh my God, I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. I literally looked at that comment, went, what? Went straight onto Google 1 second later, can you import donor eggs into Australia? The answer came up with a link to a clinic in Australia talking about importing eggs. I look at the name of the clinic. It was the exact same clinic on the Gold Coast that I'd gone to a year earlier. The very first clinic I ever went to in my entire IVF journey. You'll remember it, those of you who watched my first video, where I went and there was an old man and he said, you're too old to use your own eggs. You need to use donor embryos. And I'd said, oh, actually, I really want to try with my own eggs. Thank you very much. I'll see you later. And I left. It was his clinic that came up on the Google search, only 40 minutes away from here. And they were importing eggs. I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe it. So I rang them up and they said, yes, it was true. They had been importing eggs for the past 4 months, so I would be one of the first people to do it. And they told me that they were importing eggs now from the World Egg Bank, which is actually in Arizona in the United States, even though it's called the World Egg Bank. So yeah, they were getting their eggs from the World Egg Bank. And they had started because they realized during the pandemic, all these women who usually would have gone overseas to Spain or Greece or South Africa to do a donor egg cycle or an IVF cycle couldn't go, so they needed to find a solution, so they started importing eggs. Now, the cynical person might say, well, they were trying to take advantage of a captive market because in the past, no one would have paid that kind of money of importing eggs because it costs a fortune, because it was much cheaper just to go to Spain or Greece. But now, in the current climate with the pandemic and possibility of getting airfares and how extravagantly expensive those airfares were and the prices of quarantine, prices of hotels during the pandemic, the egg donor importing option was now looking quite reasonably priced compared to the option of traveling. So they realized that. So that's the cynical version. The nice version is that they saw all these poor women who couldn't now fulfill their dreams, so they tried to find another solution. I choose to believe the positive version. But either way, the option was now there that I could actually import eggs from overseas into Australia. It was like a miracle. So I went from thinking I was going to have to fly to the other side of the world to Russia in the middle of a global pandemic during the Russian winter and stay there for many, many months and spend a fortune on hotels and quarantine and accommodation and spend months away from my life and my work and my friends and go through all that incredible stress and put my body through all that incredible stress while trying to get pregnant. And now all I had to do was drive up the road to the Gold Coast, a 40-minute drive, do an embryo transfer and come home. That was it. That was all. It was just like the biggest weight fell off my shoulders. It went from feeling like it was going to be the most stressful, expensive, tumultuous ordeal to feeling like nothing, like just driving up the road to go to a doctor's appointment. That was literally it. I just cannot tell you what a relief it was. If you're finding this story inspiring so far, please click a thumbs up, give a like to this video, because it actually encourages YouTube to show this video to more women who might be searching for stuff like this, who might be wanting to do a donor egg journey. So click like. So basically, after finding out that I could import eggs into Australia and that I could do it at this clinic just up the road, I started my donor egg journey the very next day. And I'll share in the next part of this video, which you can find here, exactly how that process went, fertilizing the egg with the sperm, creating the embryos, freezing the embryos, and everything that happened after that. Big love to all of you mamas watching and all of you future mamas watching. We're sending you all so much love and baby dust. Big hugs from us. Bye.